When you are angry, there's a storm inside of you. It feels like your heart is beating faster, your mind is racing, and every inch of your body wants to lash out and say something you might regret. You feel like the world is against you, and every word that comes out of your mouth in that moment feels justified. Like you have every right to shout, scream, or argue. But let me tell you something. Your anger doesn't define you, but how you respond to it does. Think of anger as a fire. The more fuel you add, the bigger it gets. And what happens when a fire gets out of control? It consumes everything in its path, destroying relationships, opportunities, and your own peace of mind. But silence is the extinguisher. It's what stops the flames from spreading and gives you the control to decide the course of your life. Now, take a moment to think about a time when you were so angry that you almost said something to someone you deeply care about. You were ready to let it all out, to tell them how you felt, and in that moment your emotions were stronger than reason. But you chose to stay quiet. You walked away, you took a breath, and you allowed yourself to simmer down before reacting. That single decision, that one moment of silence, was one of the most powerful things you've ever done. Not only did you protect the relationship, but you also protected yourself from the regret that follows rash decisions. Let me tell you about a woman I know who, at the height of her anger, chose to remain silent when her colleague took credit for her idea. She was furious. She had worked tirelessly, put in hours of effort, and here someone was stealing her shine. It would have been so easy for her to snap back, to demand recognition, to get into a heated confrontation, but she didn't. She took a deep breath and remained calm. Instead of confronting her colleague immediately, she took the time to analyze the situation. She realized that reacting in the moment would only fuel the conflict, that her anger wouldn't bring her the respect she deserved, but her composure would. Over time, her silence became a source of strength. Her colleague, who expected her to react, began to realize that he had underestimated her. The next time an opportunity arose, he approached her with humility, knowing full well that she was not someone who would be easily swayed by drama. And when her boss saw how calmly she handled the situation, they were impressed by her emotional intelligence, and she was eventually given the promotion she truly deserved. Her silence spoke louder than any angry outburst ever could. There's power in choosing silence. It doesn't mean you're weak. On the contrary, it shows your strength. It shows that you understand that true power doesn't need to shout to be heard. It's the quiet force that doesn't need validation. The woman who chooses silence in her anger is the one who wins, not by being louder, but by being wiser. Anger has a way of making us feel justified. But let's be real, it doesn't solve the problem. It only escalates it. It's like a snowball that rolls down the hill, growing bigger and bigger until it's too late. But silence, on the other hand, is like the pause before the storm. It's the moment where you catch your breath, center yourself, and regain control over your emotions. When you respond with silence, you're not suppressing your feelings, you're acknowledging them, without letting them control your actions. Look at the greatest leaders, the ones we admire and respect. They aren't the ones who react impulsively. They're the ones who understand the weight of their words, the ones who know that every action has a consequence. Silence doesn't mean you're a coward. It means you're powerful enough to choose your battles wisely. The moment you choose silence over anger, you break free from the chains that hold you back. You stop letting anger dictate your actions, and you take control of your destiny. When they try to drag you into drama, it can feel like a relentless pull, like something is grabbing at your heels, trying to drag you into a world of negativity and conflict that you never asked for. The moment someone tries to bring you into their chaos, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, to prove that you're not part of the mess, or even to retaliate. But here's the truth. You don't have to engage. Your peace is priceless, and your silence in the face of drama is the most powerful weapon you can wield. Think about that one time when someone came to you, gossiping, stirring up a situation, trying to involve you in a conflict that wasn't even yours to begin with. Maybe it was a friend dragging you into a fight with another person, or a colleague whispering rumors to get you involved in office drama. At that moment, you had two choices. You could have entered the battlefield with them, fired back with words and gotten tangled in the mess, or you could have walked away, chosen your peace, and refused to let their drama consume you. What happened when you chose silence? You stood tall, you remained calm, and you didn't allow anyone's toxic energy to affect your mind or your heart. It's so easy to fall into the trap of defending ourselves when we're attacked or manipulated. Society often pushes us to stand our ground, to speak up for ourselves at all costs. But sometimes speaking up only adds fuel to the fire. It creates more confusion, more bitterness, and more frustration. Silence in the face of drama doesn't make you weak, it makes you invincible. When you choose not to engage in the petty arguments, the gossip, or the unnecessary conflict, you are showing the world that you're above it. You refuse to be part of something that doesn't serve your highest good. There's a story I once heard about a woman who was always at the center of drama. Wherever she went, there were arguments, misunderstandings, and conflicts. She was constantly being dragged into other people's messes. And no matter how much she tried to avoid it, she felt like she was always the target. One day, after a particularly intense argument at work, she realized that the drama wasn't going to end unless she chose to stop participating in it. So the next time someone came to her with gossip or tried to pull her into a confrontation, she didn't respond. She stayed quiet. Instead of arguing, she walked away. She didn't feed into the negativity. Over time, people started to notice a change. The drama didn't follow her anymore. People who once tried to pull her in now respected her space. They realized that she wasn't someone they could manipulate or use for their entertainment. She became a symbol of strength. Not because she fought back, but because she refused to engage in anything that would take her away from her true purpose. Her silence became her shield, and soon enough she found herself surrounded by people who appreciated her for her peace, not her ability to argue. Choosing not to engage in drama is not a sign of avoidance. It's a sign of strength. It's understanding that your time and energy are too precious to waste on things that don't matter. There will always be people trying to draw you into their personal battles, but you don't have to be part of it. You don't have to lower yourself to their level. Instead, rise above it. Be the person who remains calm in the face of chaos. Be the one who refuses to get involved in the petty squabbles and the hurtful games. You know, in the end, the people who constantly create drama are often the ones who are struggling with something deeper inside of them. They're unhappy, insecure, or seeking validation through conflict. And the moment you step away from their games, you not only protect your peace, but you also set an example. You show others that there's another way to live, a way where you don't have to engage with negativity. You show them that you're strong enough to not be pulled into the noise, strong enough to create your own world of peace and positivity. Your silence in these moments becomes your greatest statement of strength. When you don't have all the information, the natural instinct is often to speak, to act, or to make a decision based on what little you know. But let me tell you, sometimes the wisest choice is the hardest one. It's to remain silent, to take a step back, and to resist the urge to fill in the blanks with assumptions or quick judgments. The truth is, without all the facts, any action you take is incomplete, and the consequences might be far greater than you imagine. I've seen so many people rush to conclusions when they didn't have all the details, only to realize later that they acted impulsively. A friend of mine was once in a situation where her colleague was accused of doing something unethical at work. Everyone around her was quick to judge, whispering and making assumptions. But she chose a different path. She stayed silent, observed the situation, and waited. A few days later, she found out that the accusations were completely false and the entire situation had been a misunderstanding. Had she spoken out, had she reacted to the drama with half-formed information, she would have contributed to the chaos, perhaps even lost her credibility. Her silence, her choice to wait, ultimately made her the voice of reason when the truth came out. You see, when you don't have all the information, acting without understanding can create ripple effects that go far beyond what you intended. It's like trying to build a house with half a blueprint. Sure, you may think you know where the walls should go, but without the entire plan, you risk building something that won't stand. When you speak without knowing the full story, you risk building bridges on sand. And the fall will be harder when everything crumbles beneath you. Think about it. How many times have we assumed something because we didn't have the complete story? Maybe someone didn't reply to your message immediately and you assumed they were ignoring you. But what if they were going through something difficult? What if they were simply busy? The mind in its rush likes to fill in the blanks with negativity, yet silence and patience allow you to wait for the full picture to emerge, to get clarity before jumping to conclusions. Let me tell you about a leader I once worked with. She was in a position where decisions had to be made quickly, but often she didn't have all the information she needed to make the best call. Rather than panicking, she would take the time to gather more details, talk to the right people, and make sure she wasn't reacting out of incomplete information. There were times when she had to make tough decisions, but she was always careful to wait until she knew as much as she could. And because she did this, people respected her more. She became known for being level-headed, thoughtful, and strategic. Her decisions didn't always seem like the fastest or most impulsive, but in the long run, they were always the most effective. She had mastered the art of silence, not silence in the sense of avoiding the situation, but silence as a way of collecting the full picture before acting. And think about how this applies in our personal relationships. Sometimes we jump into conclusions about people's words or actions, thinking we know what's going on. Maybe you misinterpret a message or assume someone's intentions. Instead of reacting, stay silent. Step back and take time to reflect. Ask yourself if you have all the facts, if there are elements of the story you might not understand. Often the truth isn't as simple as it seems, and reacting prematurely can cause unnecessary friction. There's also immense power in staying silent when you don't have all the information, because silence communicates humility. It says, I don't know everything. I'm open to learning. I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers. And in a world where everyone is trying to speak louder than the next person, humility is a trait that sets you apart. It makes people trust you more, it makes them respect your discernment, and it opens the doors to deeper understanding and wisdom. Silence doesn't make you weak. It makes you stronger than those who think they have all the answers without knowing the full story. So when you don't have all the information, resist the temptation to act or speak prematurely. Take a breath, step back, wait for the facts to unfold. Your patience, your silence will not only save you from regret, but will also set you apart as someone who knows that true wisdom is in knowing when not to speak. When you're dealing with toxic people, it can feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, always unsure of what's coming next. Toxic people have a way of draining your energy, leaving you feeling emotionally exhausted, confused, or even doubting yourself. Their words are sharp, their attitudes are negative, and their presence can be incredibly draining. But let me tell you this, you don't have to engage. You don't have to stoop to their level. You don't have to absorb their negativity. The moment you choose to remain silent and remove yourself from the toxicity, you reclaim your power. I've seen it happen in so many situations. A friend who was constantly belittled by a toxic partner, a colleague who was undermined by a jealous coworker, or a family member who was repeatedly disrespected by someone they loved. These people were all caught in the same trap, reacting to the toxicity, feeling the need to fight back, to prove themselves, to stand their ground. But here's the secret, when you react to a toxic person, you're giving them exactly what they want. They thrive on your emotional reactions. They want to see you flustered, frustrated, and upset because that's when they feel powerful. When you stay calm, when you refuse to engage, you take their power away. Think about the last time you encountered a toxic person. Maybe it was a coworker who constantly criticized you, or a friend who always seemed to bring drama wherever they went. In that moment, you probably felt the urge to defend yourself, to set things straight, to tell them how wrong they were. But let me ask you, did reacting really make you feel better? Did it improve the situation? Or did it just escalate things, adding more negativity to an already toxic environment? There's a powerful woman I know who's been dealing with a toxic boss for years. This boss would frequently undermine her in front of others, take credit for her work, and make passive-aggressive comments that left her feeling small. At first, she responded with anger, trying to prove herself, trying to stand up for her worth. But she quickly realized that the more she engaged with the toxic behavior, the worse it got. The more she tried to fight back, the more her boss used her emotions against her. And it took a toll on her well-being. One day, after yet another public criticism, she decided to stay silent. She didn't react, she didn't defend herself. She simply acknowledged the situation, took a deep breath, and chose not to engage. The next day, her boss tried to provoke her again. But this time she remained calm. She didn't give in to the bait. And guess what happened? Her boss got frustrated. The power dynamics shifted. By refusing to play the toxic game, she took control of the situation. Over time, the more she refused to react, the less her boss targeted her, and the more respect she gained from her colleagues. The toxicity no longer had the same hold over her. Now you might be thinking, but why should I stay silent when I'm being treated unfairly? Here's the truth. Silence in the face of toxicity is not about submission. It's about strength. It's about emotional control. It's about understanding that you are above the petty behavior of toxic people. When you engage with their negativity, you lower your energy to their level. But when you stay silent, when you refuse to be drawn into their drama, you protect your peace and you rise above the situation. I know a woman who was constantly belittled by a family member, whose words were always cruel and disrespectful. This woman was kind, loving, and always tried to help others. But no matter what she did, this family member would criticize her, cut her down, and make her feel unworthy. She spent years trying to win their approval, trying to change their opinion of her, but nothing worked. One day she realized that her worth didn't depend on their approval. She didn't need their validation to feel complete. So she stopped engaging with their toxic behavior. She didn't react to their insults. She didn't try to change their mind. She simply chose peace. And in that moment, the dynamic shifted. Family members' cruel behavior lost its power because it was no longer met with resistance. And slowly, they started to respect her boundaries. This is the truth, my friends. Toxic people cannot survive in an environment where their negativity is not reciprocated. When you stop feeding their fire, when you stop reacting to their provocation, their power over you begins to fade. You are not a victim of their behavior unless you allow yourself to be. You are in control of your response, and silence is your greatest weapon. You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to prove your worth to them. You simply need to walk away from their negativity, and in doing so, you walk toward your own peace. When you're in a position of power, the temptation to speak up, to assert your dominance, to prove your worth can be overwhelming. But let me tell you, true power is not in the noise you make, but in the silence you choose. Silence is the most powerful tool you can wield when you are in control. You don't need to announce your power to the world. Let your actions and your ability to remain poised in moments of pressure speak louder than any words ever could. Think about the greatest leaders throughout history. They didn't always speak the loudest. In fact, some of them spoke the least. Their strength was in their ability to remain calm, to think before acting, to control their emotions even in the most intense situations. There's a wisdom in silence, especially when you're in a position of influence, that makes you not just a leader, but a respected one. The world doesn't need you to shout to show you're in control. The world needs you to lead with grace, with dignity, and with the understanding that true strength is in knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. I've seen it firsthand. A close friend of mine worked in a senior leadership role at a company. When she first took over, there was immense pressure to prove herself. She wanted to show everyone that she was capable, to let her team know that she was the one in charge. At first, she spoke frequently, taking every opportunity to assert her authority. But over time, she realized something. Her team wasn't responding to her words, they were responding to her actions. They didn't need her to talk about her position. They needed her to show it. So, she started embracing silence. In meetings, when the conversation got heated, instead of raising her voice, she would pause. She would let the silence settle in the room, allowing others to reflect on their own words. She would let them speak and share their opinions. And when it was time for her to speak, she did so with purpose, with intention, and only after listening to everyone. This shift changed everything. people began to respect her not just for her title, but for her ability to lead with wisdom. Her silence spoke volume. It showed that she didn't need to fight for respect because she already commanded it through her actions. Let me give you another example. There's a well-known business magnate who, despite his success, is known for saying very little. He lets his work speak for itself. There's a story about how, during a crucial negotiation, he didn't say much at all. While everyone else in the room was trying to out-talk each other, he remained silent, calm, and collected. His silence wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a sign of control. By not reacting impulsively to every statement, by not feeling the need to speak up at every opportunity, he exuded a quiet confidence that ultimately gave him the upper hand. He understood that the most powerful thing you can do when you're in a position of power is to not always use it. The restraint is what makes you unstoppable. Now think about it in your own life. Maybe you're in a position where you've just been promoted or given more responsibility. You feel the need to prove yourself. You feel the pressure to let everyone know that you've earned your place. But here's the truth. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. The people who truly respect you will do so because of your integrity, your decision-making, your wisdom, and your ability to lead without needing to shout your worth from the rooftops. Your actions will speak for you. Every time you choose silence instead of noise, you assert your true power. There's another leader I know who once shared a story that really stuck with me. She was in a high-stakes meeting where everyone around her was arguing about the direction of the company. Instead of getting involved in the back and forth, she remained silent for a long time, observing. When it came time for her to speak, she didn't need to raise her voice or prove her point aggressively. She simply shared her thoughts in a calm, measured way, and the entire room shifted in that moment. She didn't need to dominate the conversation. She just needed to speak with clarity, with calmness, and with confidence. That moment taught me something powerful. Silence in a position of power is not weakness, it's strategy. It allows you to hear everything, to process it, and then to speak with a wisdom that others can't ignore. When you're in a position of power, remember that you don't need to prove it with words. You prove it by your presence, by your decisions, and by your ability to remain poised in the face of chaos. Power is not about forcing people to listen to you. It's about being so sure of yourself that you don't need to speak unless it matters. Your silence will leave an impression far greater than any speech ever could. When you're being judged, it can feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. People's opinions, their harsh words, their expectations. It all starts to feel suffocating. And let's be real, judgment is something we all face. Whether it's from a colleague who doubts your abilities, a family member who doesn't approve of your life choices, or strangers who feel entitled to have an opinion about your personal life, judgment is a universal experience. But here's the game-changing truth. You don't need to let their judgments define you. I remember meeting a young woman, full of ambition, full of dreams, but every step she took was scrutinized. No matter how hard she worked, how much she gave, there was always someone ready to judge her. Whether it was her appearance, her career choices, or even her relationship decisions. The more she was judged, the more she started questioning herself, feeling unworthy and doubting her every move. But then she realized something crucial. Judgment from others has nothing to do with who you truly are. People will always try to project their insecurities, fears, and limited perspectives onto you. Their judgment says more about them than it does about you. Consider the story of a famous entrepreneur who was constantly judged in the early stages of their career. People laughed at their ideas, questioned their decisions, and ridiculed their unconventional approach. Yet, instead of letting the opinions of others derail them, they chose to remain steadfast. They understood that the only judgment that matters is their own. And eventually, when the results started speaking for themselves, those same people who had once doubted and judged were the ones trying to get close to them, seeking advice. The truth is, those who judge you in moments of struggle are often the ones who will admire you in your success, but by then, you'll no longer need their validation. I've seen so many people struggle with judgment. I've seen someone step out of their comfort zone to pursue a dream, only to be told, "You'll never make it. Who do you think you are?" That person could have let those words stop them. But they didn't. Instead of reacting with frustration or self-doubt, they took those words and turned them into fuel for their fire. They didn't let the judgment define their worth. They let their actions speak louder than any opinion ever could. And now they stand as living proof that success is the best response to judgment. When you're being judged, the first thing you need to realize is that people will always judge you based on their own limited understanding of the world. They don't have your perspective, your vision, or your experiences. So why should their judgment hold any weight in your life? Think about the last time someone judged you unfairly. How did it make you feel? Maybe it made you feel insecure, unworthy, or confused. But let me ask you this. When was the last time their judgment actually changed anything for you? I'm guessing, like most people, their opinion had no lasting effect on your path. It's time to stop internalizing others' judgments and start owning your narrative. Look at a professional athlete who rises to the top of their game. The journey to success is rarely smooth. They face harsh criticism, unfair comparisons, and endless judgments. But instead of letting that criticism deter them, they use it as motivation. Every judgment becomes a stepping stone, a reminder that their journey is theirs to control. They don't take the judgment personally. They take it as a challenge to prove their worth, not to others, but to themselves. This mindset, this ability to rise above judgment, is what separates the successful from the defeated. Judgment by its nature is rooted in misunderstanding. When you're being judged, it often stems from others not truly knowing who you are, what you've been through, or what you're capable of. They see only the surface, only the small fragment of your story that they can judge. But what they can't see is the fire that burns within you, the strength that's forged in silence, the journey you've been on, and the greatness that's yet to come. Their judgment can never define you unless you allow it to. So the next time someone tries to judge you, remember this. Their words are simply a reflection of their own limitations, not a reflection of your truth. You are not bound by their narrow perceptions of you. You are defined by your resilience, your heart, and your ability to keep moving forward despite the judgment. The moment you stop caring about what others think of you is the moment you free yourself from the chains of judgment. And remember, judgment is temporary, but your journey is forever. Let their words bounce off you like water off a duck's back. Focus on your vision, your goals, and your passion. When you do, you'll realize that no matter how many people judge you, they can never touch your true essence, your worth, or your future. You are the only one who gets to decide who you are, and no one, no matter how harshly they judge, can take that from you. When you need to protect your energy, it's one of the most crucial aspects of taking care of yourself. We often forget how much we give, how much we invest emotionally, mentally, and physically into the world around us. And we tend to neglect the fact that we are not inexhaustible sources. In reality, our energy is a finite resource, and there are moments in life when we have to make the conscious choice to protect it. Because if we don't protect our energy, we will be left with nothing to give. I remember meeting someone who for years had poured all their time and energy into people and things that drained them, whether it was staying in toxic relationships, offering emotional labor without getting anything in return, or simply trying to be there for others at the cost of their own well-being. It wasn't until they found themselves completely exhausted, physically and mentally, that they realized something profound. They had been giving so much of themselves to others, but very little to themselves. Their energy was scattered, dissipated, and they had nothing left to offer, not even to themselves. One of the most inspiring lessons I've learned in life is that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Think about it. When you constantly give away your energy without replenishing it, you start to feel drained, frustrated, and resentful. I'm sure you've experienced it before. Maybe it's the friend who always asks for favors without ever reciprocating, or the family member who demands your time and energy without ever considering your needs. These people, as well-meaning as they might be, often don't realize how much they're taking from you. And that's where you come in, to protect your own energy. This isn't selfish. This is self-preservation. Take the example of a young entrepreneur I once met. She had a brilliant idea and an unstoppable drive to turn it into a successful business. But there was one problem. She kept letting others drain her energy. She would entertain every distraction, every request for help, every person who needed her attention without stopping to consider her own goals. She'd burn herself out day after day and then wonder why she wasn't moving forward. One day, she decided to make a change. She set boundaries. She chose to prioritize her business and her well-being. She started saying no to people who didn't respect her time and energy. She chose to take weekends off, to focus on her health, to spend time with people who filled her cup rather than drained it. That decision was a turning point for her. By protecting her energy, she was able to finally start making real progress. She stopped feeling overwhelmed, and instead she started feeling empowered. Now let me tell you about a colleague who worked in a high-pressure corporate environment. He was always the one people would turn to for advice, for solutions, for support. Over time, he became the go-to person for everyone's problems. While his intention was always to help, he found himself constantly drained, unable to focus on his own projects, and feeling more and more burned out. One day, he realized that while he'd been giving his energy to everyone else, he wasn't taking the time to recharge himself. He wasn't taking care of himself the way he should have. So he made the decision to start saying no, to only engage in conversations and situations that were productive and aligned with his personal and professional goals. It was hard at first, but as he began to set boundaries, he started to feel more energized. He realized that protecting his energy wasn't just about saying no to others, but it was about saying yes to himself. Here's the thing. Protecting your energy doesn't mean you have to be cold or indifferent. It doesn't mean cutting people off or becoming a recluse. It means being mindful of where and how you invest your energy. It means learning when to say no, when to step away, and when to walk away from situations and people that drain you. It's about realizing that you don't have to be everything to everyone. You are allowed to focus on your own growth, your own peace, and your own success. And protecting your energy isn't just about the people around you, it's also about the media you consume, the environment you're in, and the thoughts you entertain. If you're constantly filling your mind with negativity, self-doubt, or toxic content, you're slowly depleting your energy. Just as much as you protect yourself from negative people, you must protect yourself from negative influences. I've seen individuals who take time every morning to meditate, to ground themselves before they face the chaos of the world. This daily practice allows them to maintain their energy and approach life with clarity and focus. There's an old saying, energy flows where attention goes. If you constantly give attention to things that drain you, your energy will be depleted. But if you focus on nurturing your mind, body, and soul, your energy will flourish. Protecting your energy isn't just a one-time decision, it's a lifestyle. It's a daily choice to guard your peace and prioritize your well-being above all else. And when you do this, you'll find that you have more to give to the world around you, but you'll give it from a place of strength, of balance, and of abundance, not from a place of depletion. As we come to the end of this journey today, I want you to remember something that is absolutely crucial. You are the architect of your own destiny. You are the creator of the energy you radiate into the world. And the world will not wait for you to be ready. It will take what you give. But what if you choose to give it your best? What if you choose to protect your energy, to guard your peace, and to invest in your dreams? The moment you realize this, something extraordinary happens. Your life, your choices, your path, they start to shift in ways you never imagined. I know it might seem daunting at times, when life throws its challenges at you, when people doubt you, when obstacles seem impossible to overcome. But let me tell you this, in every challenge lies an opportunity. In every difficulty lies the seed of greatness. Your struggles are not your story, they are the foundation upon which your story will be built. Think about all the successful people you admire. They didn't get there by giving up when it was hard. They didn't get there by listening to the critics, the doubters, the people who didn't understand their journey. They got there because they kept moving forward, one step at a time, one decision at a time, protecting their energy from the forces that try to drag them down. You see, life is not about avoiding the storms. It's about learning to dance in the rain. It's about rising above the noise, above the drama, and above the limitations others place on you. Every time someone tries to judge you, every time someone tries to pull you into their negativity, every time the world tells you it's impossible, you have a choice. You can either fall into their energy, or you can stand tall and say, this is not my fight. This is not my burden. I will protect my peace, I will protect my energy, and I will focus on what matters most to me, my vision, my goals, my growth. When you choose to protect your energy, you choose to make your life an expression of your highest potential. It's not about cutting people off. It's about rising above. It's about understanding that you are worthy of the energy you give. And that, my friends, is the most powerful thing you can do. You don't need to prove anything to anyone because your energy is your proof. Your confidence, your peace, your progress, that's the proof. Every day you get to decide how much of yourself you want to give and to whom you want to give it. Choose wisely. Think about the most powerful people in the world. They don't waste time trying to explain themselves. They don't waste time in drama. And they don't waste energy on negativity. They know their worth, they know their purpose, and they protect their energy with everything they have. This is not about being selfish. This is about self-preservation. When you protect your energy, you allow yourself to be the best version of yourself. Not just for you, but for everyone around you. Your energy is the most precious resource you have. When you protect it, you become unstoppable. When you protect it, you become the force of nature that others can't help but admire. You will be the one who rises, the one who shines, the one who inspires. And don't ever forget this. The world needs your light, your brilliance, and your uniqueness. So don't let anyone dim that light. Don't let anyone tell you who you should be or what you should do. The road ahead won't always be easy, but it will always be worth it. The path to greatness is never a straight line, but a journey full of learning, growing, and becoming. As you continue to move forward, protect your energy fiercely. Let your dreams be louder than the distractions. Let your peace be stronger than the chaos. And remember, you are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out, to be remarkable, and to leave a legacy that no one can forget. So when life gets tough, when the drama unfolds, when judgment comes knocking, remember you have the power to control your energy. You have the power to choose your path. And most importantly, you have the power to rise every single time stronger than before. You are destined for greatness. Own it, protect it, and let it shine. Your journey is yours alone. Make it a masterpiece.